All right, Baby Steps. This is a game that they showed at one of the PlayStation showcases, and it looked really weird. And I was like, I'm gonna keep an eye on this because it's one of those weird physics games where it's hard to move, but it has a story to it. So I just wanted to check it out. So let's check out this review.
That's how I like it.
As someone who lives for the unexpected, unique, and downright weird, it only took about 5 seconds for the absolute craziness of Baby Steps to steal my heart.
Oh no!
The spiritual successor to pain-inducing cult classics Quap and Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, who is also one of the developers here, is a similarly exasperating physics-based walking simulator that asks you to control the most unwieldy human ever created as you push yourself through increasingly arduous obstacles.
He gotta be drunk. He gotta be drunk.
The result is one of the most hilariously infuriating journeys it has ever been my pleasure to rage through. With writing that consistently cracked me up,
It's blacker than the inside of a cow in there.
a story with more heart than I expected, and brilliant branching paths that let you choose your own level of anguish as you explore the dreamlike world, I had a hard time staying mad at this wonderfully bizarre odyssey, even in its most maddening moments.
Where are you headed?
Oh, mountaintop?
You know there is nothing up there, right?
Yeah.
Like just about everything in Baby Steps, the story told here is eccentric, to say the very least. You play as Nate, a 35-year-old neckbeard who has sleepwalked through his entire life and suddenly finds himself on a hiking trip he's laughably unprepared for.
Nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody falls. Let's get you on your feet.
It's nice to meet you.
After inexplicably refusing to accept help from anyone as he fumbles around without so much as shoes on his feet,
Just feet, huh?
Yeah, just feet.
presumably because he avoids social interaction almost as much as he does cardio, he goes toe-to-toe with formidable environmental hazards, all while wearing a dirty, stretched-out onesie that looks like he hasn't removed it in several years.
Yeah, you see the sweat stains on it?
But despite
Crazy
being
work.
one of the most immediately unlikable characters of all time, I found this sad sack growing on me in a big way over time, as his awkwardness peels away to reveal an isolated and depressed softie I couldn't help but root for. The goofy characters you meet along the way are oddly compelling. They're all voiced by the same handful of people, delivering what I suspect is highly improvised dialogue that sort of meanders through each cutscene, which works shockingly well. For example, Jim, who tries to serve as Nate's onboarding guide, but is repeatedly rebuffed until he effectively becomes a bitter antagonist of sorts, never failed to amuse me with each unwelcome appearance.
I might take that. That looks better.
You can't. It's too hard for you.
It's not that hard.
I cackled loud enough to annoy my neighbors twice in the first hour alone, and found myself peculiarly drawn to the lewd cast and absurdist story that unfolds. Granted, no small part of that is the fact that Baby Steps is deeply inappropriate at every turn, which definitely appeals to my depraved sense of humor and lust for nonsense.
You're kind of sitting on my husband, though.
I'm so sorry.
But even when its jokes don't quite land, it still won me over just by being so unlike all the humdrum hero's journey tales I've seen 1,000 times, instead favoring outlandish and unconventional ideas that kept me guessing every step of the way.
You know,
Not sure what you're
Tripped up. I didn't honestly, I didn't expect this to have a story that you could grab hold of, because usually these games are just like infuriating, challenging physics games, but this actually has like a story to it. I kind of want to say I'm impressed. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Maybe surprised or impressed, one or the other.
Headphones?
no.
Of course, as a quite literal walking simulator, you spend the vast majority of the time on your own just trying to put one foot in front of the other, which is way, way harder than it sounds. That's because instead of pressing one button to move forward, Baby Steps forces you to control each leg independently, often resulting in you face planting into the dirt like a 4-year-old operating a broken pair of stilts. If this doesn't sound particularly hard to you, guess again, as it
Nah,
took
it
me
is.
several hours before I could walk on even slightly bumpy terrain without treating my face to a 3-course meal of rocks.
Go play Excite Bike.
The
Go play Excite
counterintuitive
Bike.
magic
If you
of
want to warm up for this game, go play Excite Bike or one of them other games, and you will feel the rage flow through your body.
Baby steps, however, is that what starts off feeling like insurmountably ass-backwards controls eventually becomes second nature, and there's actually a ton of depth baked into Nate's awkward movements that reveals itself the longer you commit to it. For example, the pressure you apply when pulling each trigger determines the precise height you will raise the corresponding foot, and lifting one causes Nate to press against whatever's under the other with much greater force, something that can both cause you to slip or save you from a spill depending on the situation. By the end of my 20-hour voyage, I was carved
20
out of
hours doing this?
wood, scaling sheer walls
I don't
with
know.
the dexterity and grace of a mountain goat trained in the ancient art of ninjutsu, and performing feats that would have seemed downright impossible mere hours earlier. Don't get me wrong, there were still plenty of times where I fell to the ground while just walking around on normal terrain, even as I neared the end of the 20 hours it took me to reach the credits, and it never stops feeling like a pain in the derriere just to pull off basic movement. But I also ended up developing a deep respect for the system that was given to me, which has so much nuance and so many tricks to learn that I felt like the only limit—
Oh no, not Excite Bike. That's the Nintendo game. Y'all know what game I'm talking about. That physics-based bike game. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
to what I could pull off was my own skill. For a hyper-competitive person like myself, this pulled me into an inescapable pursuit of mastery that kept me awake long into the night, cursing my creators as I tumbled to the ground for the 50th time in a row.
Fuck.
Most of the time, the frustrations I felt while trying to move my unwieldy avatar through mountain ranges and dark caves felt extremely harsh, but fair. And I was almost always learning something new about Nate's dumb body as I flailed around through convoluted puzzles. That said, there were also times where I felt not so much in control of my own success. For example, sometimes Nate would get caught on an object or move in some bizarre, unexpected way that would lose me 20 minutes of progress as I tumbled helplessly down a massive obstacle course I had just climbed. And these made for some of the most rage-inducing moments in my adventure. To be clear, these moments were very rare, and my failures were overwhelmingly a case of me just needing to get good. But when you're already getting sand kicked into your open eyes while everything is working as expected, feeling like you had no control over your own success even 1% of the time makes it hurt a lot more.
Walk this way, talk this way.
Although baby steps can be incredibly frustrating to play and has challenges so grueling I regularly considered if I'd prefer to just tumble down a hill myself, it also deliberately makes the vast majority of these hurdles completely optional and almost always placed thoughtfully within view as you make your hike ever upwards. This meant that, although I often felt devastating pain at repeated failed attempts to, for example, climb to the top of a crumbling temple in the jungle, I couldn't really get too mad in the knowledge that I voluntarily subjected myself to that torment and could just as easily move on along the main path where the level of difficulty was much more manageable. It's actually an awesome structure because it allowed me to take on spicier paths when I was feeling up to it, then move on if I ever felt like I wasn't improving my skills by beating my head against the current trial, though I was almost always too stubborn to do so.
Whoa.
I really appreciated this approach, which lets you pick your own level of suffering and grow at your own pace, and I always felt rewarded for taking the more extreme route by triggering a goofy cutscene or little story bit at the end. It also helps keep things fresh that each leg of your hike up the giant mountain is accompanied by a new, unique-looking area, from sandy deserts that make it even harder to get around as the ground moves beneath your feet, to a derelict mine with dark tunnels and splintered wood that require extreme precision to navigate. The environments run the gamut, and never stopped providing fresh ideas throughout my run, like one part where I had to learn how to delicately ride a water turbine, or another where slippery frozen lakes forced me to master balance and intention.
It's like an episode of Jackass.
It's worth noting that none of this, from the levels themselves to the characters you meet, looks particularly good. In fact, Baby Steps is downright ugly most of the time, and has a surprising amount of pop-in for a game where all you do is walk really slowly. but with how unhinged everything else is, the lo-fi identical trees and blurry faces kind of work with its generally gross vibe.
But where's the bathroom?
Okay,
outside, just go behind a
he
bush.
might fuck
I
around.
wasn't expecting
Get
one of
us
my
to 8.
favorite games of 2025 to be about a socially awkward blob in a stained onesie with such poor motor skills that he ragdolls to the ground on the slightest of uneven surfaces. But here we are. Baby Steps is a triumphantly quirky physics game that asks you to challenge yourself, both with alluring hiking obstacles that had me screaming to the heavens.
Oh. And then it's like,
shockingly
when you fall down like that, it's not like you just restart where you was at. You gotta climb back up all of that shit again. Like if you could have spent the hour, and you still have to climb back up. It reminds me of Only Up. I tried Only Up. I played that game for like, I want to say like probably like 6 hours, and I thought I was getting somewhere, and I fell all the way down to the beginning. And I feel like I got mad far, and I fell all the way down to the beginning, bro. That shit pissed me off to no end, and I literally cut the game off after that. I couldn't finish it. And then to go see other people play it and finish it, where I was at, I was nowhere near the end.
Conventional story and characters that ended up feeling like family by the end. Despite centering itself around intentionally awkward controls, it has a deceptive level of depth that made me eager to master it, and I got incredibly lost in the sauce as I tried to best its most daunting challenges. If you like a good laugh, extreme difficulty, or just hate yourself, then I can't recommend Baby Steps enough.
Oh, he gave him a 9. Wow.
For more, check out our recent reviews of Hollow Knight Silksong and Dying Light.
I think we already
the Beast.
we already did those. We already reacted to those. See, let me go ahead and do my 1-2 real quick. All right, so Baby Steps. This is a very frustrating physics-based game where you use the triggers to put one foot in front of the other and get through this hiking trip that you're on with this character. I was surprised that this game had a story to it. Usually these games don't really have much of a story to it, but this has like some story to it. And according to the reviewer, it has the gameplay has some depth to it, even though it might not look like it. So it might be worth the challenge. Like, it depending on how much the game costs, or where I can get it at. Maybe it's on Game Pass or something. I don't know. I might get it. I might not, and try it out. I don't see myself like streaming it or nothing, because usually when I stream game, I plan to beat it. I probably play it on my own time, work my way through it, maybe post some clips here and there of me raging. But yeah, they gave it a 9 though, so that was kind of a surprise. But I don't know. If y'all played this game, let me know. But yeah, y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments. Y'all already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy JusticeXFalls, and we out. 1.